On today's episode of Cooking with Tovia, we're going to be making a sour cream pound cake from scratch. This recipe is very detailed, and I'll show you everything you need to know to prevent your cake from sinking and not coming out correctly. You'll find all the ingredients you need throughout the video, as well as in the description box. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, share this video, add it to your playlist, leave a comment, and also don't forget to subscribe, and when you do, please hit the notification bell. So I have a large abundance of all-purpose flour. I have some now ranges like 4 cups, and I've already sifted it 4 times, so I'm sifting it one more time. So you need to sift the flour 5 times, and after sifting the flour, we're going to measure it. You're going to need 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You can use cake flour too, but just don't use self-rising flour. So it's really important that you sift the flour. This prevents your end product from coming out too heavy. So we're going to measure out 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm not packing it in. I'm just going to use my knife here, the back of my knife, just to make sure that it's leveled off. So 3 cups. So after measuring out the flour, I just put it back in the original glass bowl that it was in. And now you're going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder. And I'm going to just sift that in. Sifting in the baking soda will ensure that you don't have any lumps of baking soda that hasn't been broken down. You don't want to bite into baking soda. So here in my bowl I have 1 cup of butter and 3 cups of granulated sugar. And I'm doing this in the bottom of my stand mixer. We're going to cream the butter and sugar together. We're going to cream it together about 6 to 8 minutes. I'm going to stop the machine halfway through the mixing time, and I'm going to use a rubber spatula to scrape down the sides of my bowl and then continue to cream the two together. I'm also creaming the two together on medium speed. So everything's been going now for about 3 minutes, and I'm going to stop the machine and just give everything a scrape. I have a longer spatula somewhere, I just don't feel like looking for it. Okay, so now we're going to cream this together for another 3 to 4 minutes. So all my ingredients have creamed together for about 7 minutes, so I'm going to give the bowl another scrape. So I have 6 eggs that are at room temperature. And then one thing I meant to mention is if you're using salted butter, you're not going to add the salt. But if you're going to use salt, you would add the salt in with the flour, and that's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm using salted butter, so I didn't add any salt to my flour. So I have 6 whole eggs that are at room temperature. I'm going to add them one at a time. And I'm going to beat together about 30 seconds after each addition. So just continue this process until you have all your eggs combined. Make sure you scrape the machine down halfway between mixing. So I have almost all my eggs added, but I'm just doing a good scrape just to make sure that all that butter and sugar is being well combined with the eggs. This step is extremely critical because you don't want to have any hard grains of sugar or butter that hasn't been combined thoroughly. It could cause your cake to become too oily and also sink in the middle. So I'm going to continue on adding my last couple of eggs and we'll be back. So after getting all the eggs and sugar combined, you see I have a nice smooth mixture here. And I have Mexican vanilla. This is from Bobba Gran. You can check them out in the description box. I'm going to have a giveaway of this vanilla pretty soon. So I'm going to add 2.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. If you don't have Mexican vanilla, or if you don't have Bobba Gran's, just use regular vanilla. And this particular vanilla here is absolutely wonderful. I love it. It's alcohol free. So I'm just mixing in the vanilla. I'm going to scrape my bowl. I do a lot of scraping when baking. So after we gave the bowl a scrape, I just mixed it for a few seconds. And now what we're going to do is add the dry ingredients. So I'm going to add half of the flour here, and that has the baking soda in it. And remember, if you're not using salted butter, you would add the salt in with the flour. I'm going to mix this on stir, just very low, until the flour begins to absorb into the batter that's there. Okay, once the flour has absorbed, as you see here, it's okay to have a few lumps. I'm going to add half of my sour cream. And remember, the sour cream is at room temperature. All your ingredients must be at room temperature. So I'm going to add half of the sour cream. Just mix. Now I'm going to add half of the remaining flour. And what we're doing is that we're alternatively adding the wet with the dry. You start with the dry and end with the dry. It keeps your cake from sinking, it keeps your cake from coming out too heavy. If you ever wonder why your cakes come out hard like a stone and are cooked on the outside but sunken in the middle, this is why. It's critical to do really good creaming in the beginning with the butter and sugar as well, because we haven't added any other rising agents besides baking soda. So the air that we incorporated in the beginning, that's basically our rising agent, basically. So now I'm going to add the remaining of the sour cream. I'll try to get as much of it as I can out. So we're going to now mix until everything is dissolved. Just a few seconds. Now, sour cream is an acid, so when you're using all-purpose flour in this recipe, the acid from the sour cream will actually break the crumb of the cake down, so your cake will still come out tender. So it's safe to use all-purpose flour. You don't necessarily have to use cake flour, in case you're wondering. So now adding the remaining flour. So like I said, you start with the dry, end with the dry. I'm going to bake this particular cake in 2 loaf pans. I'm going to bake one off tonight, and I'm going to let the batter sit in the fridge covered, and I'll bake the other one tomorrow. So this is a type of batter that you could certainly make ahead of time. But just be very careful with the batter if you're going to let it sit in your fridge. Don't tap it or knock it about, because you don't want to knock out all of the air. And then you pull the batter out, let it sit on the counter for about 2 hours, let it come to room temperature, and just give it a light mix and then bake it off. So I'm just scraping and mixing, just ensure that all of the flour has been combined. And everything looks good. My batter is very smooth. You don't see any grains of sugar or flour or any lumps of butter. So one thing that many people fail to do is to really scrape the bottom, the center of the bowl as well, because a lot of the flour and stuff tends to sit in the center of the bowl. So really do a good job at scraping. I'm just scraping once more to ensure, and that's it. So I have my loaf pan here, and I'm going to fill up half of my loaf pan with the batter. So this is a 9-inch loaf. So I'm going to pour half of the batter in. And you can really smell that vanilla. It smells so much better than the vanilla that has alcohol. This vanilla, you can really smell this vanilla. It's very pure. So like I said, I'm going to bake off 1 loaf now. I think that's about good. Yep. So, and I want to show you the bottom of my bowl here. So you see there's no flour or anything like that that's sunk into the bottom. We did a good job at scraping while mixing. So I have my oven preheated to 330 degrees. I'm using an air fryer oven or convection oven. If you're using a standard oven, just preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So my oven has been preheating. I'm going to put this inside of my air fryer oven. And of course I have my rack fixated in the center, and then I'm going to set the time for 30 minutes. I'm going to check it, but we're going to let this go for about 30 to 45 minutes in the air fryer oven or convection oven. In a standard oven, you're going to let it go for about 35 to 45 minutes, or even up to an hour. It just depends on your oven. If you're doing a bump pan, you'll need to let it go for an hour total, an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. So here's the final of my pound cake. It took about an hour and 5 minutes for it to completely bake. I just baked it until a toothpick came out clean, and I just let it completely cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out the pan, and look at the bottom of it. Very beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and slice into this cake so you guys can see the inside. Like the top is a little crusty, like caramelized from the sugar that's in the cake, and then the crumb of it, as you see, is really tender. So the top, it will melt in your mouth. It's like that old-fashioned crusty top pound cake. So here is our beautiful pound cake. I'll show you the crumb up close. You see it's beautiful. Bottom's light and golden, and the top is beautiful. I didn't line my pan. I dusted, with flour. I buttered it and everything. So let's give this a taste. You can smell that Mexican vanilla. I'm going to start with this part. The little crust here, that's my favorite. Absolutely delicious. We have a perfect, sort of a dense like cake, old-fashioned dense texture, but it's still very light and buttery at the same time, if that makes sense. It melts right in your mouth. The texture is perfect. So there you have it, how to make a beautiful sour cream pound cake. If you follow all these directions to a T, I promise you'll have a perfect pound cake. If you have any questions or comments, please leave that down below. Please hit the thumbs up and share this video, add it to your playlist. Don't forget to check out Bobba Gran's down in the description box as well. Follow me on social media. And please remember to live and be well. Thank you so much for watching and supporting, and happy holidays.